Hey guys, happy new year from all of us at Trade and Train. We hope you've had a great Christmas and a brilliant new year. A bit of an anticlimax yesterday for us with our Prime Minister Boris Johnson announcing a full national lockdown. But hey, as traders, we are very, very lucky that basically, it doesn't really matter what's going on in the world. The markets still move. Okay, prices still go up and down. The prices of the metals, the indices, there's still movement in the market. And in fact, when kind of bad things and good things happen in the market, it actually creates volatility. And from that volatility, we have the ability to capitalize on the movement. So it's not all that bad for us traders, put it that way. So anyway, let's crack on and go through some charts of interest. Just want to start off with the dollar index, which we normally do. Just by selling the US dollar for the past several weeks. In fact, going back really up until here in March. Looking to have sold the dollar against stronger currencies would have made you a fair number of pips. And it is still going down. But it is heading towards a very key support area around that 88.50 zone where I've drawn this zone here. So as you can see, we're actually forming what we would call a descending wedge. So price is falling, but can you see that this channel is kind of getting closer together, almost like it's coming into an apex. So we would expect, technically, okay, it doesn't mean it's going to happen, but technically when you have this type of pattern, and let me find the tool I'm looking for, we could be getting we would expect it to break to the upside. We would, okay, but we will be looking for, if I'm going to predict anything, I would say that the dollar index would come down and test this 88.50 zone, okay, and then we're going to see what happens. Do we get that strength in the dollar? Do we get the buyers coming in? We're going to wait and see. But selling the dollar at the moment is not a bad call, and it's been like that really since March. So let's the risk currencies like Australian dollar and Kiwi dollar against USD have just been doing so well. I'm going to put a couple of this is the daily time frame. I personally like to add a couple of EMAs onto the daily time frame. EMAs, if you don't know, they're called exponential moving averages. I like to add a 20 EMA here in blue and an 8 EMA here in white. Okay, so look how, well, I'm not going to say simple, but there are plenty of opportunities here where you could have made money, and this is just from November, where we see these EMAs are nicely open, nicely spread in the correct order for an uptrend. Okay, for an uptrend, you'd be looking for the smaller EMA, which is this one, the 8, above the 20. So, and this is called the faster EMA, this is called the slower EMA. You'd look for them to be in this order with some nice angle on the EMAs and some nice separation between the EMAs. And you can see prices coming into this 8 EMA on the daily, and then we're finding buyers come in. Okay, this one, it had a bit of a deeper pullback here on the 21st of December, came back to test the 20, but then as you can see from the wick on this candle, buyers came in, and look, we've had another pullback roughly into that 8 EMA there, and buyers have come in again. So potentially, well, let's just look to the left. Let's see if we're heading into any particular area of resistance. A little bit, yeah. I mean, you can see here, these spike highs here, we're actually there now. So we may see we could see a little bit of selling going on, but then the next major level is up here. You know, we're talking in the 8,000 level. So could it get there? Let's just look a little bit further to the left. We've got these highs here as well. So we are heading into, you know, a bit of a zone, a bit of an area where we could see. I quite like this one actually, this level here, because why do I like it? Well, it's the big number, and these big numbers in trading are often tested. We call them big numbers, even handles, those kind of big numbers ending in 0, if you like. So you can see here it was resistance, here broken, retested, okay, it became resistance, here false breaks to the upside, resistance. It looks as though we could come and test 8,000 again, and that would be a good level to look for. I would suggest sell opportunities, but you know, all depends on really what happens with that dollar. If we see those buyers come in, that I think that's going to hold a big part in this. So looking at the monthly EMAs as well, look how far we are from what was, if you look here, this little zone here was resistance, okay? Price pushed up, found resistance, came down, found support. And if you look at this here, in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the EMAs off for a second. I'm giving you a bit of a lesson here. This wasn't actually the plan, but you know what? It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Look, we've got resistance here, look. Okay. Resistance. Breaks. Retest. Now becomes support. Pushes up into this resistance level. Breaks. So you would expect at some point, you would expect price to actually come down here, and then potentially you'd be looking for it to bounce. Now, whether that does that before it gets to 8,000, you know, I wouldn't be able to tell you, but it's something to look out for as we move into 2021. So I'll be looking for that, and then potentially that. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Then a test of 8,000, or we could actually see this motor on into 8,000, then a rejection, and then come and test it. Okay, maybe it'll bounce, who knows? But at some point, I can see this coming back to test this 7,400 again. Big number ends in a 0. Okay, these numbers are psychological numbers. They like to be tested by the market. So that is something to look out for in future. But right at this moment in time, okay, this is still bullish. There's been no change of this uptrend, as you can see. It's making higher highs, higher lows. You could draw a trend line there, look. Okay, until we see a nice clear change of cycle, then we'll be looking for this 7,400 or 74,000, depending on how you want to read it, to be tested. Okay, and then potentially we could bounce off that level. Potentially. We will see. So, you know, buying Aussie USD on pullbacks would have been, and is currently, a good little kind of money earner, if you want, and getting some pips in the bag. Looking for price to pull back, certainly into this ATMA on the daily. Looking for buyers to come in. Now, whether you do that on the daily time frame, whether you kind of watch the ATMA on the daily, and when prices around that zone, you maybe can drop down to the 1 hourly, 15-minute chart, looking for those early changes of cycle. You know, that's a great way of making some pips in the market. Kiwi's pretty much the same. Kiwi dollar. Let's just take this off and this off. You know, It's literally been just so strong ever since that November here. In fact, before then, it's had a little bit of a consolidation here, but you can see from down here, it's just motored, pulling back into the EMAs, the 8 EMA, 20 EMA here, and just carrying on. So, you know, who knows? We've been kind of predicting this is going to have a little bit of a turnaround for a while now, because it's so overbought on the monthly time frame from the EMAs, but it just carries on. So it must have some Duracell batteries in this one. But you know, take each trade as it comes. If it provides you with a setup, great. But at some point, I do see this. I mean, it's massively over extended. I do see this coming back, maybe to test 69. Looking at these areas here, which was resistance, as you can see. There's also 68, but that might be a bit of a too deep a pullback. So I could certainly see, you know, if we see that pullback on Aussie, I suspect that we'll see the same kind of pullback on Kiwi dollar as well. You have to excuse me, guys. I'm useless at finding things on TradingView, even though I use it every day. So, you know, potentially we could see something like that. I certainly see this zone being tested, though, at some point. And I suspect that will be if and when we see that a little bit of strength come into the dollar. Right. Couple of charts of interest right now. I mean, as well as you know, Aussie dollar and Kiwi dollar long. You know, you can look for some trades on those. CAD yen. If you've been following our free channel, also our 60-second updates, which are in our free channel, our free Telegram channel, you may have seen me mention this. So, weekly time frame, CAD yen. Okay, we've got this. I'm going to put some text in here, actually. Resistance. Okay. It's like a trend line resistance. We're finding price come in and sellers enter. Sellers enter there. Sellers enter here. And we've got this rising trend line here, which is acting as support. And we'll put that on the bottom. Okay. So prices come from this resistance level here. Okay, we've actually seen what's called a morning star pattern. That's these three candles here. I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger. In fact, what I'll do is I shall use the replay function on this. There we go. Okay, that is I should say evening star pattern. And basically, that's a reversal pattern going from buyers into sellers. Okay, so this weekly candle, in fact, if I just close that down now, we'll go back to, yeah. If you were trading the weekly time frame, you would put a sell stop underneath that candle and your stop loss above this candle, which is the high of the pattern. You would have been triggered in, you would have had price move against you, and you'd be slightly offside at the moment. But we can use the weekly to, you know, use the bigger time frames to gauge what is happening, and then use the smaller time frames to try and hone your entry into the market. So from this, I would expect some downside, maybe coming back into this trend line support here. So let's kind of go into the smaller time frames, and you know, what do we see? Well, we see, in fact, maybe the hourly would be better. I don't know, hourly, 4 hourly. Sometimes it's best to just zoom out of a chart to see what's going on. So I can see this clear movement to the upside. We hit that bigger trend line resistance level, a sloping resistance level, then we see sellers come in. You can see a clear change of sentiment from buyers into sellers. Okay, so we've had our first impulse of sellers here. So what do you get after an impulse? Well, you would expect to get a correction, and then you would expect to get another impulse. So what is happening here, we would have to presume, is a correction. And after a correction, like I said, we would expect to get an impulse. So currently, it looks as though we are in the correction phase. Sometimes it's called, sometimes people call it a phase 2. We have a phase 1, which is our impulse, and a phase 2, which is the correction. We've got this kind of little uptrend here, which is going against the downtrend here. So this is the correction. We'll be looking for this. We're looking for sellers to start coming in again. Let me just have a look at today's price action. Just want to see what's been happening. We were looking for a break of this low here. Why? Well, you can actually see an uptrend, can't you? You can see the low, the high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. So we have an uptrend. Now, I just want to point something out because some of you will know about trend lines. Okay, and let me just do that. Okay, now some of you, if you would have spotted this, may have drawn a trend line like that. Okay, anticipating that when the trend line breaks, that could be the start of the next impulse to the downside. But look what happens. We break the trend line. We break it a couple of times. So some traders may have been caught into that. Okay. But look what happens. We move back into the above the trend line. So what you would actually need to do is, yep, it's an indication that what potentially is happening, but we actually need to see a change of cycle. So we want to see a new lower low. So this was the low. We were actually looking for price to start closing and trading below. Okay, we've got our low, higher low, higher low. If we started breaking below here, that would be a lower low and a change of cycle. Okay, so this is what we're kind of looking for. Something like that. So it's not always a break of the trend line does not mean that the trend is necessarily changing. I need you to understand that. Okay, you're reading price and reading the highs and the lows to see if there's been a change of cycle. Really, really important, and not sometimes, you know, it's not mentioned enough. Okay, a break of the trend line does not mean a change in the trend. Okay, look at what's happening. Do we start in an uptrend? Do we start getting lower highs, lower lows? In that case, fair enough. But in this case, we haven't. And you don't know. Price may end up making a new high. And we may get something like this. Okay, and this, and then we'll be looking for this to break out. So it looks fairly impulsive at the moment, but yeah. So just keep your eyes on this, though. It's actually a really kind of nice zone. You can see if you look carefully, this zone here, you know, it is an area of support, isn't it? So definitely, I like the idea of taking this short, but I'm waiting, or we are waiting at Trade and Train for those sellers to come in. Okay, nice confirmation of selling. We'll look for that first pullback. Hopefully it'll come back into this zone, and then we'll see. Hopefully sellers come in. So this is something to look out for. Another yen pair is pound yen. Okay, let's have a look at the kind of a similar picture, I suppose, because we've got this sloping resistance, sloping support. And again, look, we've come from resistance. So it's a kind of a similar trade, really. Obviously, both involve the yen. Let's look at what's happened. Price has come and tested this particular zone twice, as you can see, and it's found resistance on both occasions. It's also the big kind of sloping resistance here, but this zone once, twice, both times sellers have come in. And we're finding, or price is finding support here. So price is in this kind of box range, but potentially this could be what's called a double top pattern. Again, it's a reversal pattern. But again, it's a very, very similar story with this, and we would trade it exactly the same way as we would with CAD yen. We'll look for that break of support, we'll look for that retest or pullback, look for sellers to come in again. Okay, so CAD yen, pound yen looking really nice for shorts. They are not ready at the moment, but you know now what to look out for. You need to look for those break of supports, that pullback, retest, look for sellers to come in again, and then get into the market. If you agree with our analysis, okay, you may see something totally different. But one more chart I want to look at is gold. Okay, gold moving really, really nicely. Now it's kind of cleared this 1900 area. Not just that, it broke out of a daily descending trend line. Okay, as you can see, real clear breakout of this. And because it's so clear, you know, it doesn't look like a false break at all. You would expect this to carry on to the upside. What we would look for, though, now, we wouldn't buy right now, you know, not as technical traders, because you don't, in an uptrend, you know, you don't buy when the price is high. Okay, you look for that correction to take place, and you look for price to drop, and then you start looking for entries into the market. Okay, so I've already drawn in a trend line here. There's no point really buying here. Now, if this goes, it goes. Unfortunately, it goes without us, or it goes without me. What you are looking for is price to come back, maybe into that trend line. Okay, you can see it's actually once, nearly there, twice. It's been very close to this price action here, so it's a really well respected trend line. It would be great if price came into that area. It also tallies up with a little area of previous resistance here. Okay, well, actually I meant this candle high here, so we could see something like that and drop a little bit lower. Maybe it will come and test that big number 1900, but there's for us really, there's no point really looking to buy gold up here. Okay, it's, you don't buy at the potentially the top of an impulse. You look for a correction. Yeah, we've had an impulse correction. This is an impulse. Look for the correction, look for buyers to come in. So CAD yen, I like that for short, but we need to see a break of support. Pound yen, I like that short as well. Very similar trade, looking for support to break. Gold looking really nice for upside, but overextended. Okay, as we come into about 1950, look for it to pull back, look for a sign of buyers coming in again. Okay, hopefully all of that made sense to you. You know, if anything didn't for whatever reason, drop a comment into the comment box, comment area, and you know, I will get back to you. We've also got our 90-day Forex challenge going on. Well, it's the setup week this week. I don't know whether you know about it, but I will make sure you're added to our Telegram channel. I'll put the link in the comments, and I'll post something in the Telegram, the free Telegram channel about that. We got that. It's just a setup week at the moment. You can still join if you want to. There's some great prizes. I'll detail it all in the free Telegram channel. But the top prize is partly a 10K trading account for you to trade. So if you're, sometimes it's difficult for traders because they don't have the funds to trade with. They know how to trade, but they haven't got the money. Well, if you know how to trade, this is your chance to show us. You will have to use, though, the strategies that we provide. We're going to provide you with some different strategies. If you can follow them, okay, to the letter, use good risk management, and get a good return of investment, show us a good return of investment, then you're in a chance of winning some of these great prizes. And some of them are free membership to our Trade and Train club, if you like. I think there's a year, 6 months, and 3 months, depending on how you do in the competition. You also win a free place on our Essential Trading program. Really in-depth course that lasts 2 days. We run it over a Saturday and a Sunday online, so you can do it at home. Obviously, with the things the way they are, we would love to do it in person, but we can't. But it's a really great course, and if you do well in the 90-day challenge, you stand the chance of winning a place on the next Essential Trading course. Like I say, I'll drop some details in the free Telegram channel, and you can take a look. But if you want to get involved, you need to be quick, because it's going to be starting the training very soon. Okay. So from me, Nolan, and the Trade and Train team, hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll catch you in our next one.